Let's talk about these hearings this week. We anticipate there will be some interesting back and forth, to say the least. You've predicted that RFK Jr. Will sail through his confirmation hearing, yet he has zero medical training. What makes you so confident he'll get confirmed?
Well, first of all, I've gotten to know Bobby. He's very intelligent. I think he's a good person. He is going to base his opinions on science. And I also know an awful lot of the lies that have been told about him, as well as the concerns expressed by, my colleagues when I did an unofficial whip check. And, those conversations always pretty much went the same way. It's like, well, boy, there's a lot that Bobby Kennedy's doing that I love, but, and, there were about 3 or 4 common concerns people had. And I know exactly how he's going to answer those concerns. I think he can alleviate those concerns. So again, I've got a great deal of confidence in him, his ability to convince senators. I've talked to some that were literally just blown away by how knowledgeable he was. They didn't know much about him, but after their hour-long meeting with him, I think they're definitely going to support him. So again, we'll see what happens. I know there are a lot of outside groups that are going to be opposed to him, because if we actually do determine the cause of some of these chronic illnesses, potentially autism, some multi-billion-dollar business models may be disrupted. And so these individuals and these big companies are really in it for themselves. They're not interested in protecting the American public if it's going to disrupt their multi-billion-dollar business model. That's what we need government to do. I think that's exactly what Bobby Kennedy is focused on, is the science. Returning integrity to it has been corrupted by people buying science and buying the result they want. That has to change.
I'm glad you brought up autism, because I do feel like, Senator, that's the biggest but, right? That's the biggest question that people have, is what he has said in the past. We don't know what causes autism. How will he reconcile the pushback from the medical community? And does he, in fact, believe that vaccines may be responsible?
Well, we don't know, because we haven't even been allowed to ask the question. Yeah, I just recently saw a podcast where a researcher finally revealed to me, it was a study in 1970 that put the rate of autism at 1 in 10,000. I'd never seen that before, but that's where that came from, 1970. So now, according to CDC's own data, we're up to, I think, 1 in 33. 1 in 36, somewhere along that line. And by the way, we actually changed a number of years ago the definition to narrow the definition of autism, not to expand it. We wanted to narrow the definition so we would be recording fewer of them, and yet the rates of autism have continued to skyrocket. We have to get to the bottom of this. We also have to get to the bottom of what is causing this explosion in chronic illness as well. And again, if it's something in the environment, if it's something in our food, if it's something in our pharmaceuticals or in our vaccines, we need to know that. But as one witness in my event that I held in September, America's Health and Nutrition, a Second Opinion, stated they don't want to know the root cause because it'll disrupt those models. So the American public wants to know. We want this research. We want science with integrity, not a guy like Anthony Fauci telling us he's the science when we know he's, from my standpoint, a thoroughly corrupt individual as well. So again, the American people, I think they're wise enough to know they've been lied to. The science has been corrupted. The support for what Bobby Kennedy wants to do in terms of understand the root cause of this chronic illness, the root cause of autism, the American people want to know as well. So I hope my colleagues recognize this is what the American people want, somebody who's going to doggedly pursue the truth.
Science has also proved, though, Senator, that vaccines like the polio vaccine work. How do you expect him to answer questions about that vaccine in particular?
He will follow the science. And listen, to say science has proven this, there are alternate studies. There's other alternate explanations. From my standpoint, I want everybody at the table. I want science to be skeptical. To say something like scientific consensus is a very unscientific term. The way science progresses is people being skeptical, trying to disprove what is, generally the scientific consensus, and coming up with a better theory that explains the unexplainable. Again, until we can explain what has caused autism, I think everything has to be on the table. Everything has to be investigated.
Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.